What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I am your host. It's Tuesday, November 9th, and we have a emergency podcast. Odell Beckham. The waivers were processed, Ryan. The waivers ran, and Odell Beckham went unclaimed by any of the 31 other teams available to claim him. And, of course, I guess technically Cleveland, if they were still being run by Freddie Kitchens or Hugh Jackson. Maybe they drop him and claim him. Anywho, Odell Beckham now a free agent. It's worth noting that the way that this works, and a lot of people say, well, Odell's done. No one wanted him. No one in the NFL wanted him. That's not entirely true. The way it works is if you claimed Odell Beckham, you had to take on his $7.5 million salary, roughly, right? Maybe 7.25, whatever it was. It was over $7 million. That's on your books. As of Tuesday afternoon, about 1 o'clock Eastern time, so 3 hours before the deadline to put a waiver claim in at 4 p.m., there were only 10 teams who were available or who had the available cap space to add on Odell Beckham: the Jags, Eagles, Broncos, Seahawks, Panthers, Browns, Steelers, Chargers, WFTs, and Bengals. And the Bengals had 7.9 million. The Jags had 27 million. If you're a team like the Jaguars, yes, you could claim Odell Beckham. And then Odell Beckham would say, why did you do that? I don't want to play for you. Because Odell Beckham.
What happens then?
That's a good question. Maybe they release him and they're on the hook for $7.5 million and Urban Meyer.
That would be the most Jags thing ever. Yeah, I do wonder how that sorts itself out. But yeah,
I think in this case, a team like the Jaguars, who obviously has a high waiver claim, one of the top 5 waiver claims, has plenty of cap space. You reach out to Odell Beckham's agent and you say, "Hey, if we, would it be worth it for us to claim him?" And Odell Beckham's agent says, "No, don't do that. He doesn't want to play for you." So I think that's sort of how you get there. Or maybe Odell Beckham's agent reached out proactively to the teams at the top and said, "Look, Texans." Well, Texans didn't have enough. They were just shy. But the better example, maybe, I don't know, the Panthers. Like, hey, Carolina, I know you got money left over, but
even a team like the Steelers that lost Juju Smith-Schuster,
sure,
you ain't going to make Odell Beckham the centerpiece of your offense. And, if you're not crazy about Roethlisberger, Odell might be like, I'm good. By the way, before we get going on landing spots and all that, Josina Anderson of CBS Sports tweeted out moments ago, my understanding is that Odell Beckham will take some time and assess best situation for him with several options still on the table per league source.
There you go.
And right on the stick.
Yeah, nailed it. We were going to do go live and hope to just be going live for this pod, like while Odell Beckham, to find out who his new team was. I'm glad we didn't do that. And ultimately we'll just look at landing spots after he cleared waivers. Again, only 10 teams were available to claim him on waivers. Most of those teams didn't make a lot of sense. And you have to give him $7.5 million. Whereas if he clears waivers and you're a team that Odell Beckham wants to play for, you can get involved in a bidding war of sorts. I wouldn't anticipate he has a huge contract. He basically, the way that this worked with the Browns is the Browns gave him, the Browns hacked off the final 2 years of his deal in exchange for Odell Beckham taking less money from Cleveland. So Cleveland fixed his contract, so he'll be a free agent after this season, no matter what. And he gets $4 million basically as like, go away money.
Imagine.
Yes. Sounds delightful. Like a golden parachute or a brown parachute, I guess it would be if you're for Odell Beckham in the
brown parachute. Be careful with that.
Yeah, I know that was sort of leaning into it. Anywho, let's look at some landing spots where Odell Beckham could go. There was a report out there, I believe, from Jordan Schultz, who said that Odell Beckham will be interested in going to the Packers. That makes a lot of sense, to be perfectly frank. Green Bay, as we have talked about for several years now, is remember when you guys wanted to give up 5 first for Will Fuller last year?
5 first. What are you talking about?
You're like, give up 2 first-rounders for Will Fuller.
Will Fuller. Oh my gosh, I forgot about. Yeah, Will Fuller. Yeah, how about that? I forgot he was still in the league. Yeah,
that's right. And instead, so you have Devontae Adams. You could add Odell Beckham. Look, Odell Beckham in theory is an upgrade over Alan Lazard or Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Let me ask this: in practice, what is he?
I don't know that he's necessarily an upgrade, and I don't know that when you have a volume offense, the way that the Packers works with Devontae Adams, and you also run a lot of your passing game through Aaron Jones out of the backfield, and frankly, AJ Dillon catching a lot of passes,
Randall Cobb
playing well. I mean, it feels like a really good fantasy football fit. I don't know how it would actually play out in real life. Maybe it works great, and maybe it's like when the Eagles, when it got TO, and it just magic connection just starts working immediately. We're like,
well, it's funny you mentioned TO because I want to ask Debo about that. How did that end with Donovan and TO? Sort of. I remember specifically 2004 Steelers game. The Steelers were undefeated. The Eagles were really good, and there's a shot of TO just in Donovan's ear as they walk up and down the sideline. Donovan turns around, he follows him and talks. Like Donovan's not responding. He's just not yelling, but he's being very vocal about something he's not happy about. What's the oil and water situation? How bad is it with Aaron and Odell if they're on the same team compared to what we saw?
I was going to say Donovan and T.O. are still fighting 16 years later. Yeah. They want to challenge each other to celebrity boxing matches. Like in 2037, are we going to have Aaron Rodgers versus OBJ? Is that where we're headed?
I mean, that's sort of my thing is I wonder if OBJ got, we had Jordy Nelson on the Fantasy Football Today Twitch stream last year.
Oh, nice.
And we were talking about, I think I was asking about the Will Fuller stuff. I was like, these guys are giving me crap about Will Fuller.
By the way, great hairline, Jordy Nelson.
Great hairline.
For a ball guy.
Jordy pointed out, he's like, look, when you play with Aaron Rodgers, the reason they don't go out and add all these like extra guys at the trade deadline and just pile up random receivers is that Aaron Rodgers is very specific about how he likes his receivers to operate, not just in terms of their route running, but also on the secondary break that he utilizes when he does that spin where he turns around and rolls out and he doesn't look for a second. At that point, he wants his receivers to start freelancing and to they work on these secondary routes. And it was just really interesting to hear Jordy explain that. I wonder how that would work with Odell Beckham in that sense. So makes all the Packers are going for it. If Aaron Rodgers goes to management and says, I want you to get Odell for this team, then that's a whole different ballgame. Because then
that dude's been begging for stuff for 2 years. They didn't give it to him until he came out with that press conference in August and called out everybody.
For sure. But I'm saying if the Packers then went and did that, let's say the Packers saw Jordan Love play they obviously saw Jordan Love play.
Good Lord. What if they didn't see him play?
They didn't see him play. They were like, oh, this box score doesn't look great, Jordan. So obviously they saw him play. And they have to be concerned about how Jordan Love played against the Chiefs. He was a disaster when blitzed. If you're trying to convince Aaron Rodgers to come back for another year, even if you don't win the Super Bowl or make the Super Bowl, which I think are the only ways they get him to come back, you could, in theory, say, hey, Aaron, would you like Odell Beckham Jr. on the team? And if Aaron's like, yeah, that'd be awesome, man. Let's go get this guy. And you go out and get him. Then all of a sudden, maybe you start to, rebuild that bridge between you and Rodgers a little bit.
He's 37. How long is he going to be there? And that means you're going to sign Odell to a multi-year deal right now, not knowing how healthy he is, because I think a lot of his struggles had to do with not being 100% healthy. Maybe that's just mentally being over the fact that he had that ACL injury last year. And when's the last time he had a good game?
Odell?
I'm not even joking.
2020 against Dallas, I think, before he tore his ACL. Yeah.
What year is this?
He hasn't been good. I mean,
yeah.
Look, I'm not saying that's what I'm saying. I think that it's more of a name value fantasy football ad than it is necessarily a perfect fit with any team. But I mean, the Packers make sense. And as somebody pointed out in the YouTube chat, and you can watch us when we do these emergency podcasts, we go live on YouTube, youtube.com/pick6 or search pick six pod. Is it youtube.com/pick6 or YouTube?
Just Pick Six.
Oh yeah, that's right. Or search Pick Six Podcast in your YouTube app. Hit the like button if you're watching, or if you're watching later, even if it's not live. Hit that like button. Subscribe.
Or if you have your eyes closed, just open it, peek real quick, hit like button, and close your eyes.
And if you're on your phone, you're like, I don't know where the like button is. Close the chat, and the like button will appear.
He may be 40, but he knows how YouTube works now.
Hey-o.
So, but as somebody pointed out in the chat, I think it does make sense that Odell Beckham is going to want to go to a contender because he's getting his money from the Browns. So he's not looking. I think he's looking for a reasonable amount of money, nothing crazy. You add to the $4 million you're already making, but he's looking to make an impact on a playoff caliber team over the next 9 to 10 weeks, or 9 weeks, I guess, because he's going to be looking for a contract next offseason, one last big contract. And so if you want to get that contract, you have to prove your worth on a quality team down the stretch in 2021. So for that reason, I think we can rule out, obviously, teams like the Jaguars. Maybe not the Eagles, but maybe the Eagles.
Would you want him on the Eagles, Debo?
I would take him. I know it's a question that's going around sports radio and Philly sports Twitter. The consensus is no, but I would take him.
Okay. Do you think that the Eagles would meet his qualifications?
No.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's sobering. But I agree with you. The Panthers, for instance, he's
no.
Right, but he's not going to Carolina to like have Sam Darnold throw balls at his feet. Washington, no, right? I mean, like we can rule out these teams. We can also rule out teams like the Bengals, not because they stink, but because they have three quality wide receivers already with Joe Burrow. It would be surprising if they added Odell Beckham. However, another team that makes sense along with the Packers and begins with a P, the New England Patriots.
The Patriots.
The Patriots. Always. You cannot make a list. It is actually a required rule when you sign a contract in NFL sports media. When you cover the league, you are contractually obligated to include the Patriots on any list of landing spots for big name players. And Odell Beckham certainly qualifies. Also, the Patriots could use some help at wide receiver, I think. And you can kind of picture Odell Beckham running those remember the old McAdoo used to have him run those slant. It's like slant. And Eli Manning's just popping it in his belly and he's busting off big runs. You can picture that happening with Mac Jones in that Patriots offense.
I could picture it happening in Cleveland. Never did. So I guess. So I don't know. What about
Daniels would find ways to get the ball in Odell Beckham's hands?
I mean, is Kevin Stefanski a terrible play caller? I don't think that's the issue.
Actually, we haven't really seen alpha receivers develop very well in Kevin Stefanski's offense.
It's been there a year and a half.
It happened in Minnesota too with Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs didn't have a good season when he was there.
He had like 1,100 yards and 63 catches, but he demanded a trade immediately afterwards.
What about the Miami Dolphins?
No, the Dolphins stink.
Yes, they do stink. They're terrible.
Dolphins would be a last resort Florida no state income tax.
Right, it's a South Beach situation.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins qualify I think the Dolphins are that team's too bad for me to join.
Even though you're on South Beach.
Yeah. What about the
a lot of people in the chat are saying the Seahawks.
Yeah, Seahawks absolutely make a ton of sense.
Pete Carroll was asked about that. And he says, I'm not going to say yes, and I'm not going to say no.
Now, the Seahawks have $11.7 million in cap space. And
Tyler Lockett, decaf Metcalf, and then where does Odell fit in? Is there enough balls for him?
I think that what the Odell Beckham thing is would be like a same sort of thing as Aaron Rodgers, which is, all right, Russ, look, I know we haven't really gotten anything. Like, when you asked for all the upgrades and we didn't really do it. But now we got you Odell Beckham. Odell?
But somebody asked in the chat, is this more about money or about Super Bowls? Listen, Odell can go to a team and win the Super Bowl and catch 10 balls between now and then. He ain't getting paid next year. If he goes somewhere and racks up a lot of yards, that enhances his ability.
It's more about it is a combination of being in the news and like if he goes to a team and helps him win a Super Bowl, he'll get paid next year.
No. I'm thinking like Ocho Cinco to the Patriots type situation where you're sort of an afterthought, not Terrell Owens to the Eagles where you take over.
Or AB to the Bucks.
Or AB to the Bucks, right. Something less than that.
Okay. That's all right. That's fair.
Like if he goes to, let's see the Saints, he would obviously be that's a primetime spot. What, like the Chiefs, for example, they get red hot, but he's just basically, they have Josh Gordon. I don't know if they would even bring him, but if he's basically doing Josh Gordon stuff and not really contributing, he ain't getting paid next year.
No, that's right. But that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, it's a combination of wanting to, I don't believe that Odell Beckham is desperately trying to win a Super Bowl. I don't believe that is his ultimate motivation.
I bet his ultimate goal is to find a quarterback that will throw him the ball a lot. That's above replacement level.
I think he would like to help a team through his individual stats.
What about the 49ers in that regard?
The 49ers could make sense. I think let's talk about the Seahawks first. I mean, because look, Odell Beckham, if somehow getting Odell Beckham forced them to constantly go 3 wide receivers and let Russ cook, that would not be a terrible thing.
Not for the Seahawks, might be for Odell. That's the only thing. You know what might be the best landing spot?
What's that?
Debo's Indianapolis Colts.
I think the Colts could make sense.
Well, they have Pittman, but the other receivers are always injured, banged up. T.Y. Hilton and
I don't know that Odell Beckham necessarily fits the locker room culture that we have.
He might be able to get himself together for 3 months in order to catch a bunch of passes. Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
What a match made in heaven right there, Carson and OBJ.
Oh boy,
Absolutely.
I think the Saints, even with just over $1 million in cap space, would make a lot of sense as well.
Who's throwing the ball though?
Sean Payton will scheme him up.
That's my pick.
The Saints. Huh?
Can we get odds on the Saints?
I'll say 5-1 on the Saints.
Oh,
that's
short. I was gonna say 12 to 1. I was gonna say 12 to 1.
I think the Packers will be I think when these odds come out with like on the bet online at .ag or whatever, where they just make crap up. I think it'll be Packers first, then followed by the Patriots, Seahawks, and Saints will be the top 4. We talked about those teams. Would you want them on the Steelers?
No. Okay. Dominic asked in the chat, how much will William and Mary pay for him to come and play there? $10 million. I
don't think William and Mary has that kind of cash.
Got a lot of money. Thomas Jefferson went to William and Mary. Come on, dude. I don't know what that means, but I just want to throw that
I
out
don't
there.
either, and I'm going to continue moving along. How about the Raiders?
Well, they just got Deshaun Jackson, so
yeah, but I don't think Deshaun and OBJ are the same type of player.
They're not, but those are two personalities now in that locker room that weren't there a week ago.
Well, I mean, all due respect, it doesn't appear that the Raiders are entirely concerned about the sort of person that's on their roster lately.
Well, I mean,
their top receiver, their receiving core right now is Hunter Renfrow, Brian Edwards, Zay Jones, Dylan Stoner, and Deshaun Jackson. And obviously they have Darren Waller as well. I think Odell Beckham will be a decent compliment for those guys. I also don't know that Odell Beckham in Las Vegas would necessarily be a conducive environment for his highly productive on-field participation.
That catapults that Derek Carr MVP campaign.
That's true.
Certainly
they need to turn things around. By the way,
it would be fun to watch something like Derek Carr do something ridiculous, and then you have Odell Beckham crying, "That's my quarterback!" Like T.O.
So
did back the day
just
before.
talking about talking about the Raiders. Their first 3 picks, 2 first rounders, and I think a third round 2020 are now no longer with the team because they cut cornerback Damon Arnett a few days ago, and this was pretty amazing. Damon Arnett had wrecked 3, I think, rental cars in a month.
4, I think.
4 in a month. Like, knock on wood, I rent a car just about every week for work during the football season, and I fortunately not done.
You would just stop renting cars after 2, or somebody would stop letting you rent after 2.
But I don't know what you're doing where you're wrecking for a rental car a week.
Yeah,
that was my stat of the week.
Yeah, it's a lot of rental. I mean, also that should have been the red flag before all this stuff happened. Is the rental cars? I'm seeing that according to Sportsline, somebody wrote, the Providence Journal wrote, according to Sportsline, Pats are the 4th best odds. Saints, Raiders, and Ravens were up there. Ravens were.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention the Ravens. The Ravens make sense as well. I mean, they have Rashad Bateman back, finally healthy. They have Hollywood Brown. They've drafted millions of wide receivers the last 2 years, but you still take on a guy like Odell Beckham if you think there's something there. And I feel like that locker room could keep him in line if that's something you're worried about.
I actually agree with that. You have of course Mark Andrews, but Mark Andrews, Marquise Brown, Rashad Bateman. When I think about the sort of piece that you would want to add to that group of pass catchers, it's sort of like Odell Beckham, where he's
a better version of Sam Watkins.
Yeah, like a little slightly slower, bigger, but plays bigger Sammy Watkins.
I said a faster version, a better version of Sammy Watkins. Like they'd sign Sammy Watkins.
I think Sammy, when healthy, is faster than Odell.
My point is that he doesn't play as fast as Odell. Like when they're both at the top of their game, everyone's taking Odell every day of the week, I believe.
Oh yeah. I mean, same draft class, and Odell's had a better career for sure.
I forgot about that. They traded up for him too. They traded for him and EJ Manuel. I think they traded for him because of EJ Manuel. I think that's what happened. Because EJ Manuel was the year before.
That's right. 2013 was EJ Manuel. They might have just sat there for EJ Manuel. I don't know if they traded up.
Maybe. 16th overall felt like a trade up.
Yeah, if it was a reach, that's for sure. I don't know if they traded up. I'll look. They did. Obviously, they traded up for. Did they trade up for Josh Allen? They did. Right?
Yes. I'm not sure.
They may
have stayed put for
EJ Manuel. Oh, you know what? The Bills actually traded down for EJ Manuel. The Rams traded up to number 8 and got Tavon Austin. And the Rams moved down to 16 and got EJ Manuel there.
Yeesh. All right. My bad.
But so they did trade for him. Traded down for him.
In the right direction. All right.
Okay, so what about
the Rams? The Rams just got rid of Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah. I don't know though, man. Between Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, is Odell Beckham going to get a ton of catches from them?
Well, that's why Deshaun left. But I mean, there's the opportunity to win if that's something you're interested in. What about the Falcons? You got Matt Ryan and you have Kyle Pitts, and that's Calvin Ridley.
I was thinking the Falcons as a sleeper heading into the waiver order thing, and they just didn't have enough money. The Falcons make sense because you don't know when Calvin Ridley's coming back. You traded Julio Jones. You have Kyle Pitts and nothing else at the moment. Calvin Ridley's going to miss at least 2 more weeks. You would think that Odell Beckham would be interested in Atlanta as a possible destination.
Yeah, and Matt Ryan's still got some juice
left. Matt Ryan's played pretty well last few weeks. So, yeah, that's not out of the question, I don't think. But they would probably be down the list a little bit, just in terms of if you're Odell Beckham and you have – if the Packers, Patriots, Ravens, these Saints, these other teams we mentioned that look like they're in very good position to make the playoffs, don't have interest, then potentially it could be a team like the Falcons. What about the Buccaneers? I mean, they sign everybody.
Yeah, it looks like Antonio Brown's still recovering from that ankle injury, so who knows when he's coming back. So
that's what was my thinking there, yeah.
If you want to replace that productivity, but I don't know if you're going to replace that productivity with the way Odell Beckham was playing. So,
well, I mean, do we think that Tom Brady could convince Odell Beckham to come play in Tampa, again, Florida, tax-free?
Yeah, I would imagine it'd be a pretty easy conversation to have. It's just a matter of whether Bruce Arians wants to deal with the headache and Tom Brady wants to take that on in addition to making sure AB and OBJ on the same roster is explosive. He hasn't done anything that we know about since he got there.
Tampa, no doubt about it.
What about this? What about the Chicago Bears?
You can't.
Like they need help, and they have Justin Fields. Maybe you.
If I'm Odell Beckham, I'm looking at Allen Robinson's stat line. I'm like, I can't go there.
And Matt Nagy and going no.
Allen Robinson had 271 receiving yards coming into last night. His over under for last night. His over under on Monday night, was 38.5.
Debo's got Jahan Dotson, the Penn State wide receiver, had over 200 receiving yards last Saturday.
Wow, we got got some interesting chat comments in the webcam girls jumped in the chat. That's how you know. That's how you know you must be doing something right. Hit that like button. Hit that like button on this old YouTube. Maybe we'll get the webcam ladies jumping in there. Oh, that's me talking. I was gonna hit the like button.
Nothing less surprising than Brinson listening to himself as he's
talking. Go Tar Heels. Stop it with that clip. That's the worst.
I haven't seen that before. That's fade. By the way,
played it a bunch of times. Go ahead, play it again if you want. Go Tar Heels.
That is that's pretty scary. You just see regular face Brinson, and then it gets 25 times bigger, and he's yelling "Go Tar Heels."
It's terrifying. Who could the Tennessee Titans make sense?
Well, the AJ Brown and Julio struggle to stay healthy, so.
And they just released. They're going to release Josh Reynolds.
Can Odell run the ball?
Yeah, actually, there was an end around play that he had in that long touchdown against the Cowboys. Would the Cowboys sign him? I would think they'd probably not.
They're going to have a lot of contracts come up, like Cedric Wilson's contract's up, Michael Gallup's contract's up. So if you're
they're going to have to either pay Michael Gallup or cut Amari Cooper.
So if you can do the math and keep him, and Jerry Jones certainly loves players that are talented, and I don't know how much say he has now compared to Stephen Jones and the rest of that front office, but I would imagine you'd like to catch passes from Dak. He's one of the best quarterbacks, and they're playing on a good football team, and it makes sense on paper. But again,
nothing would surprise me with Jerry Jones. Oh, we mentioned him briefly. The 49ers could make a little sense as well.
Ooh, what the LA Chargers?
They have.
Again, Mike Williams' contract's up, so if you're planning for the future, but I'd rather have Mike Williams, I think.
Oh,
in fact, I'm not 100%. I'm not even thinking about it.
Much rather have Mike Williams. And I would think that you're probably talking about franchise tagging Mike Williams or extending him potentially. The 49ers, they've had. You could see Odell Beckham having a big season in the Kyle Shanahan system. Look, I know you can knock Kyle Shanahan all you want, but his offensive system gets guys running wide open.
Brandon it came on last week, but that was sort of the first game for him. So it just depends on. You could start. Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, Kittle just came back from injury, so even if you have Kittle, Ayuk, and Debo all healthy, great. One more guy that can go out there and throw passes to.
Are the Chiefs? Is Odell Beckham the spark that'll launch the catalyst that'll launch the Chiefs offense into?
He is the spark that will blow up the warehouse that the Chiefs currently reside in.
the pile of kindling they're sitting underneath.
Yeah,
in a warehouse. All right, I think that covers it in terms of teams. The Giants would be hilarious, but I don't think that's happening.
We could use them.
It'd be funny if Dave Gettleman brought him back. It's like, hey, see, I told you we wanted to chat. All right, that's it for the Odell Beckham Landing Spots Emergency Podcast. He cleared waivers on Tuesday. We will, of course, be back for I'm sure, an Odell Beckham signed somewhere emergency podcast, unless it is with the Dolphins, as Ryan suggested. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Talk to you guys later.